Welcome to our advanced exploration of Microsoft Excel. In this video, we'll look at modifying backgrounds, borders, and number formats. Okay, so let's start going through some of the more advanced formatting options that Excel offers you. And also, I'll tidy up this document as we go along, because there are a couple of issues with it. For example, the border being broken here. First of all, to apply background colors to cells, for example here, and actually, what I'll do is make some space. So I'll select this row, right-click, Insert to insert a blank row, and I can do Edit and Repeat, which is Control-Y. So I'm going to Control-Y. Let's cancel that, and let's do Control-Y again to see if it works as a shortcut. Yes, so I have to select the entire row, and I can keep adding blank rows so that we have a blank area to play around with. Okay, so what I did to create this row is simply select the row by clicking on it, clicking on its number on the side, and then here, the fill color. You can choose the background color. For example, orange. And it fills out the entire row. And what I also did was, on the divider for this row here, just click, hold, and drag a bit to increase its height. And then just added the text. So it's very straightforward. For example, demo text. I can select the text, and I can format. We can change the font. Actually, let's keep it Arial, but let's make it larger, considerably larger, and bold. And you'll notice we only see the first word, even though there are two words, because it gets cut off by the start of the next cell. We could, of course, stretch out the column, but that would, of course, affect the format of the entire spreadsheet. And I didn't need to do that here. So what I did was just select the cell, Format Cell, and you have a lot of very flexible options here. If we go to the Alignment tab, Wrap Text, turn that off, and importantly, horizontal and vertical alignment. If you noticed, when I typed in the text, it was at the bottom of the cell. I feel vertically it should be in the center. So if I OK that, and there we go. So now you see if I stretch out this row even more, the text remains in the center. Okay, but one thing about this row, if I move over with the right mouse button, I've colored the row right to the end of the spreadsheet. And a shortcut to get to the end of the spreadsheet, the far side of any spreadsheet, is press the End key, and then press one of the arrow keys on the keyboard. If I press End, then Right, it jumps right to the right edge of the spreadsheet. If I press End and Down, it jumps right to the bottom of the spreadsheet, which is row 65,536. So let's do the reverse. And up, and left, and we're back at the top left of this spreadsheet. Okay, the reason I demonstrated that is that we may not want this coloring to go on indefinitely. And actually, I left the color going on indefinitely here, but I specifically cut it off at the side here at the edge of the table. So you select the cell where you want the coloring to stop, hold down the Shift key to select, press End, and press Right, and it selects that entire row from the cell where we were to the very end. So now if I change the fill to no fill, it's cleared out the row from that point on. just giving it a standard white background. Okay, so next you'll notice there are borders. There are borders on this table. And actually, I'm going to start fixing this table, and you'll see how that's done. So let's say the border should run at the bottom of this row. The border should run here, all the way here. And here as well. So I'm going to select this area, then Format, Cells, Border, and if you're familiar with tables in Word, it's a similar way to format it, but let me just talk you through it. Okay, the area you've selected is essentially represented here, and the outside borders are the outside borders of the selection. And the internal borders, or the dividers, are the internal borders within the selection. So really, the external borders, the outside borders, are here, here, okay, here, and here. Whereas the internal borders are here, for example, here and here. Okay, so as a very basic example, let's choose just a solid line. Let's make it bright green. And let's apply it to all the outside borders and the internal borders. Okay, there we go, and you see how that works. So that's applied the border formatting to the area we selected. Now, if we select the area again, Format, Cells, Border, let's change the color to, let's say, purple for the internal borders, or dividers, however you want to call them. Okay, that, and now you see that the external borders remained bright green, and the internal borders, or the dividers, have now turned purple. Okay, so now let's start applying some more sensible formatting. Format, Cells, let's go to Black or Automatic. And let's choose Style None and get rid of the vertical dividers. And let's give it a double line for the horizontal dividers, the top border and the bottom border, and let's go for none for the left and right borders, and let's see how that looks. Okay, that doesn't look bad, but actually what I will do, because there's an existing border on the left-hand side, I'll allow a border on the left, but I'll leave no border on the right of the table. And what I'll do, in fact, okay, let me make this selection, Format, Cells, and let's add the double line border to the left of the table, and then let's change the horizontal divider to, let's change it to a dotted line, because really what I wanted to do with this table is have these double line dividers dividing important parts of the table. For example, headings of columns. And the fulfillment total area, and so on. But for every single row that's part of the area to be filled in, I feel you don't want such strong dividers. So I wanted to make a less heavy divider, shall we say. Okay, so I think that looks okay. What I'll try is just select this area and have a double line border here, Format, Cells, Border, Double Line, and it's here. OK that, and see how it looks, and it looks fine. And just out of interest, let's select all this and add a double line border here. Format, Cells, Border, Double Line on the right-hand side. OK, that looks fine, I think. So actually, what I need to do is add a further double line border here. Select this area, Format, Cells, Border, Double Line at the bottom. OK. And actually, I'll add a double line border here to see how it looks here as well. Select those two. Format, Cells, Border, Double Line, right-hand side. OK. Again, this isn't hugely important, and it's pretty much a matter of taste, but you can see how easily it can be applied and how easily you can try different things. So that will do for now. Scroll down a little, and let's fix this here. Format, Cells, Double Line, Border at the bottom. OK, and that looks fine. So that's how you can apply borders, background colors, and also enable or disable word wrap within your Excel spreadsheet. And just one further point I'll cover here. You can see here that automatically, let's say I type in 20. It automatically turns into $20.00. And what I've done there is selected this area, and actually selected this area as well, the totals line as well, and Format, Cells, and really I was just playing around with this screen because there's an awful lot of flexibility and functionality. You can apply number formatting, which I'll demonstrate in just a second, different alignment options, different font options, border options, pattern options. You can shade the cells even with patterns if you want to. Rather than just a solid color, you can have a checkered background, for example. And with the Protection tab, you can lock cells and hide cells. It says here locking cells or hiding formulas has no effect unless the worksheet is protected. Okay, that's a more advanced option we won't cover at this time, but that's something further you may want to play around with to become familiar with. So anyway, going back to number, here you specify what category each cell is: general, number, standard number, and then you can specify what sort of separator you want for thousands. Or you can specify that for thousands, every 3 zeros, you want to use a comma. How many decimal places? And many more options as well. If we stick with currency, you see I've chosen 2 decimal places, which obviously makes sense for a currency, and which symbol. It was currently English United States, but we can change it to any number of options. For example, this will change it to the euro symbol, and you can choose the formatting of negative numbers, how you want them to appear. Do you want them to appear in black or with a minus sign in front? Do you want them to appear with no minus sign but in red? And so on. So let's choose that one and OK that. And now you see this selection has now changed from dollar formatting to euro formatting with 2 decimal points. And of course, this entire spreadsheet is interconnected with formulas. For example, there's a formula here which multiplies that by that, that by that, that by that, and that by that, and adds those four values together. And this formula here does the same thing for this and this, this and this, and so on. It's a pretty basic formula. It just has to be fairly long-winded because of the number of cells referenced, but it's pretty straightforward. It's just B18 times D18 in brackets plus B19 times D19, and so on. And this, there's no formula here, just a value to be entered for shipping. And lastly here, a very basic formula that adds this total and this total to give a grand total. And then, of course, the same there, 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 and there. So really, a lot of this is available through the Format Cells screen, and I do suggest that you become familiar with that screen and the options for formatting and see which features and looks you like for your own Excel spreadsheets.